winds of 125 miles an hour. Booking a trip, trying to pick an airline, the points guy, Brian Kelly, has released his latest ranking. Number 1 for the 7th year in a row, Delta.
They score very strongly across the board. They were still the most reliable on-time airline in America.
Kelly revealed on CBS Mornings United is a close second, followed by Southwest, Alaska, and Hawaiian Airlines. This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Patrick was way behind on his IRS taxes.
I was in way over my head. The total amount ended up being somewhere just over $30,000. $30,000.
Then the IRS came to collect.
Started getting letter after letter. A lien had been filed against me. They were going to basically hang me completely out to dry.
He had to do something.
That's when I reached out to Optima Tax Relief.
Patrick's life quickly got a lot easier.
It was very easy, pretty much hands off. They picked up the ball and ran with it.
And how'd it go?
I couldn't believe it. I had to ask 2 or 3 times. I saved an incredible amount of money.
How does Patrick feel about Optima?
Couldn't be happier. They definitely helped me. Optima Tax Relief, the best place to call. They're the best in the business.
Do what Patrick did and call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
A look at the news, views, politics, sports, and people that are shaping Rutherford County. Listen each weekday morning at 9 o'clock for the Roundtable here on News Radio WGNS. FM 1019, FM 100.5, WGNSradio.com. The Good Neighbor Network. We're the Good Neighbor Network, FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, audio and video streaming at WGNSradio.com. This is the Roundtable. A look at the news, views, politics, and people that are shaping Rutherford County.
Good morning on a kind of drizzly, I would call this more a Seattle morning. This reminds me of Seattle, Washington. This is Bill Krause on the Thursday morning edition of WGNS Radio Roundtable. We have with us a gentleman that is no stranger to Rutherford County, certainly not only as the current mayor of the county and previously a state legislator who was very active on behalf of this area, but a good friend, and I'm going to kind of start out a little bit differently. Well, good morning, Joe Carr.
Good morning, Bill Krause. Good morning, Brian. I know you're over there working the controls, got the thumbs up. I hope everybody's doing well this morning.
And I'm going to start a little different. I never like to give too much of a warning, but I'm going to say, Joe, put on your former hat as a radio personality.
Oh, my good. Boy, I was looking at Brian when you said that. Where are we going?
Yeah.
Boy, Brian, don't play poker with that face, brother.
No. You got 4 aces. So, consider this the Joe Carr Show.
Oh, Lord.
On a Thursday morning. I won't have you as a rock DJ. I'll have you as a host. And talk about the county, not necessarily as the county mayor, but as a communicator to the people of Rutherford County.
Wow.
Budgetary session last night. Late night, was it?
Yeah. I got home, I think. Well, for me, it's late because I started at 7 and I got home at 9. So
wow.
it was
you
a 14-hour
drink much
day.
coffee at a budget session?
I drink a lot of coffee, but I drink a lot of coffee anyway.
Anyhow.
I'm a huge coffee drinker. I'll typically drink 2 pots a day. So I'm drinking coffee.
You're making many trips to the little room
all the time, especially at this age. As a matter of fact, a side note, I have to schedule my coffee drinking based on a kind of meeting, so I don't visit the little men's room.
I made the mistake the other night. I normally do not drink coffee in the evening, and I just felt, it was a kind of a drizzly, rainy, windy day, so I took a big cup of coffee in the evening. Boy, I was making about 2-hour marches every 2 hours.
I typically quit about 3 o'clock.
Oh, do you really? Yeah. And then ready to go up.
Wind it down.
So how many budgetary sessions have you been in so far?
So this session, the Budget and Finance Committee, chaired by Robert P., District 4, schedules about a half a dozen, plus or minus, budget sessions for the budget committee just to deal with the budget. Michael Smith, the finance director, does a splendid job for the county, schedules those in accordance with the statute. There are some legal requirements about how you calendar those budget meetings. It's not, the budget meetings are long and tedious, and they're very, very important, but the heavy lifting, the real lifting to get things to the budget committee happens between the committee, because Michael and I start the budgetary process in January.
Wow.
Our budget process starts in January and concludes in the end of June. As a matter of fact, we had our last Budget and Finance Committee meeting last night, and the results of that will now be forwarded to the full commission Monday morning on June 23rd at 9 o'clock. So the full commission will set the tax rate for the county once again, and I'm proud to say that there will not be a property tax increase.
Say that one more time.
I am
headline,
proud.
Beep, 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 beep. We got a news headline, WGNS.
That's first time spoken.
First time.
Right here on your show, Bill. There will
Beep, beep, beep.
no property tax increase. And as a matter of fact, I think it's important. So you asked me to talk like a mayor, but I can't help it. I'm being the mayor here. But when we construct a budget, there are four things that we're trying to do. We're trying to make sure we have no budgeted deficits. And I want to remind the listeners, when I came into office, we had the largest record budgeted deficit that we had ever have, $64 million.
So you're saying the county government can carry a deficit, local government can't?
I don't know if the cities can carry a budget deficit or not. I know the state cannot, but the county can, which I quite honestly don't think that's good policy.
No.
However, it doesn't matter whether we statutorily can carry a practical budget deficit or not. As long as I'm mayor, we will work not to do that. So no budget deficits, no property tax increases, take care of our employees. As a matter of fact, what I've been told, I am the first mayor to give employee raises to county employees for 3 years in a row, while at the same time balancing the budget.
Wow.
And so we've done that. And then so...
Well, that's, we always say, thank your sheriff, thank your firefighter, thank your first responders, thank your public employee. Well, thanks are great, but a little more dollars in the envelope or even greater appreciation.
Well, and I think, as it relates to our county employees, that the dollar they made this year, it shouldn't be worth less than the dollar they made last year because of inflation. And so what I've started to institute as a policy every year as part of the budget is what's called a COLA, cost of living adjustment. And it's based on the rate of inflation. And so we experience inflationary pressures every year to a varying degree. And it's very, very important that the county recognize that, and this mayor does. And so what we're going to do is we're going to balance our budget. We're going to make sure we maintain our AAA bond rating. I got some outstanding additional news there. We're going to make sure
we need another beep, beep, beep news bulletin.
We do. And then we're going to make sure that we pay our employees. And whatever we do on those first three, it doesn't negatively impact the next budget, which will begin next year.
But there are things that are out of your control. For example, insurance coverage. Within a public agency, you have no control of your premium. And for everyone who has auto insurance or home insurance, those premiums have gone up because of the claims nationwide.
The county spends millions of dollars every year on insurance.
It's a silent amount.
It is. And when we put out a RFP, a request for proposal, and we get them back and we see a 15% increase, 20% increase in insurance coverage, that is substantial, and that's a cost of doing government, and a lot of people don't understand that. You're right. That's a silent killer.
You're lucky that you're getting responses back. I sit on 3 boards of directors of homeowners associations, and I would probably say that's the number one challenge of an HOA board is to seek proposals and get responses from insurance coverage of a condominium development. And the premiums are throwing it way out of kilter.
And it's true. And we have the additional problem of being a county now of almost 400,000 people. We are so large in some ways with some of the insurance coverage we're trying to get. We're too large. And so it limits, because of the risk associated with our size, it limits our ability to get a number of qualified responses to the RFP.
Exactly. Now, within the budget, since you've been here some months ago, I could ask you, what's new?
Well, I'll tell you what's new with regard to the budget.
Or anything within the county of Rutherford.
Well, tangentially, in talking about the budget, we just received, I'm very, very, very proud of this. And it shows, it's a true reflection on the conservative financial principles that I brought with me and my team when I became mayor. We just received our second AAA bond rating.
That is
We
phenomenal.
are only the second county in the state of Tennessee to receive multiple AAA bond ratings.
Out of 95
Out
counties.
of 95 counties.
Wow.
We are one of two. And that is a phenomenal accomplishment.
Without question.
And it's a testimony to the hard work and the dedication that balanced budgets, keeping taxes low, promoting growth, and providing for the welfare of all Rutherford Countyans are things that you can do and that can work together.
You know, what you just mentioned on growth, without getting too much in the politic of national budgetary considerations, you know, the thesis of the Trump, the beautiful bill, is the fact that if you make the cost of government, if not stable, lower, you are providing a better financial level. You will expand growth within the nation by having a tax bill that encourages growth. Your fiscal management of Rutherford County provides an opportunity for new developers to say, hey, I want to be in Rutherford County.
Yeah.
And if you bring growth, of course, come growth, come traffic, come problems.
Come challenges, and I don't want to sit here and take credit for those accomplishments. I stand on the shoulders of my predecessors. So a lot of this work, that the harvest that we're experiencing today, is because the seeds that were sown 10, 15 years ago.
Right.
And so, but I don't want to diminish our efforts in this regard either, because we continue to had to till the soil, cultivate that environment so that we could balance our budget, so we could have AAA bond ratings, and so we could keep our property taxes low. What a lot of people don't know is the property tax rate in Rutherford County is $1.87. It's among the lowest in Middle Tennessee, that property tax rate.
You know, it was interesting. I had not realized, hadn't really heard it on the news the last couple of days. I was amazed to see in just a week that gas prices have gone up about 30 cents a gallon. Yeah. And I think certainly because of the Middle East uncertainty and crisis. But, you have things that have no control by a local government. Let's go down the category of different areas of your responsibility. Law enforcement and fire protection. How would you be ranking new activity, progress, success of public safety in Rutherford County?
So let's separate fire, EMS, and then from law enforcement, because law enforcement in Rutherford County is managed by a constitutionally elected sheriff. Mike Fitzhugh and his team do a phenomenal job. We work extremely well together. Sheriff Fitzhugh and his team come to every budget meeting. He and I have regular meetings, not just about how I, as the mayor, can support him as it relates to the law enforcement activities that he's required to fulfill, but how can I, as the mayor, give him the resources so that he can do that? And one of the things that I'm particularly proud of in this budget is that this county has now bridged the gap. We have given, in some cases, a 14% pay increase to some of our sheriff's deputies so that they can better compete in the marketplace.
And you've done that, been very successful.
Yeah, and we're real proud of that. But we've also given a similar increase to firefighters, EMS, and a number of other Rutherford County employees, because we understand that we've got to compete in a market that values that service, and we too value that service, and we're glad to do that. It's the right thing to do.
Absolutely. Most people do not realize the cost of government is not only in providing for the labor, which will usually be 60 to 70% of the total budget, But when you start looking at the cost of items, a new fire engine, what would a new fire engine cost the county of Rutherford?
We're going to buy. We're going to buy 2 new engines in this budget year, and those 2 engines will cost us about $700,000 a piece. We're going to get, we already placed an order for a ladder truck. That ladder truck's going to cost us about $1.2 to $1.5 million. So those are very expensive items, obviously.
Oh, absolutely. Or the installation of a traffic signal in an intersection. Cost of that, $150,000, $200,000.
Oh, at least.
It's a computer system.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes that traffic signal would include improvements to the intersection itself that aren't included in that cost.
Exactly. Or, as I mentioned, the price of gas going up 20, 30 cents. The asphalt that you use to just fix potholes on a road after a major rainstorm.
Yeah.
Asphalt generated from oil product going up by the cost of oil. So in the budgetary process, you have to assume that there's a lot of costs that you have absolutely no control over.
We have no control, Bill, over a lot of the costs, but it's not like we don't know it's coming, if that makes sense. And so not having control and not knowing it's coming are 2 different things. And the team that I've been very fortunate to work with, does a very good job of helping me forecast and predict those costs that we statutorily are required to assume, right? To pay for.
Sure.
And so it's really important that we don't work on surprises. And I tell my staff all the time.
We hope we don't.
Everybody loves good news. Nobody likes bad news. But the worst news is no news. Because what happens in a vacuum is fear and uncertainty. And we don't, in this administration, we don't talk about or tolerate I don't know, or if you really want to get in trouble with the mayor, and when I ask you why we're doing something, say, that's the way we've always done it. That will get you in serious trouble really quick.
I hope Brian picks up a slogan you just used. I think it should be a slogan for WGNS. No news is
really bad
news.
No news is the worst news.
The worst news.
Yeah,
so,
because you can't plan, you can't do anything on a dearth of information. And so we really try to go about and get as much information as we can, even if it's not the information we want, it's information we need, so we can maybe pivot or make the appropriate decision based on factual data.
I'm going to give you a kind of a funny example of this. I do a lot of teaching, 10 classes a semester, fall and spring in a number of colleges. And I will check the weather news early in the morning to see what the weather is, not necessarily because of my driving conditions. The difference in weather creates a difference in behavior of students.
Oh, it does.
Yes. So
not just students, Bill. Everybody.
So if it's a rainy, windy, nasty day, more than cloudy, and people didn't want to get up, they didn't want to get out of that blanket on the bed, and they come in, it's going to be a totally different response in that ideal 72 degrees, big white billowy clouds in the sky. Let's go into a personal item, and I really think this is kind of neat, and I think I did ask you this in our past visits. For a number of years, you were part of a large legislature. You had to work with teams, you had to work with coalitions, you had to do a lot of collaborating on a bill and so forth. What is the primary difference between being the leader of a county of 400,000 people, diverse as it can be, both urban, suburban, rural, versus the fact of being one of a large group of people?
I will tell you the biggest difference between being the mayor and a legislator is that as a legislator, I could afford to be partisan. I could afford to be ideologically pure, if you will. I could say and do things based on principle without regard to how it affected the management of government, if that makes sense.
That makes total sense.
Legislators, by their nature, are sometimes hyper-partisan because that's the process, okay? As a mayor, I don't have that don't have that luxury. As a matter of fact, I'm less partisan now than I ever have been, and I think that means that I don't have the luxury of picking sides based on ideology or the letter that you have behind your name that denotes your party affiliation. And so I take real pride in kind of going, you know what, that's not as important anymore because the role I have is much, much different. And I'm a mayor for everybody.
Oh, well, yeah,
not just, I'm not a mayor of a party. I'm a mayor for the county.
Or you're not a representative of a particular community.
Yes.
That's part of the whole. You are the whole.
Exactly.
Absolutely. We'll be right back after these words from our people who pay the bill.
This is Chip Walters, and I'm honored to be your 2024 MTAR Realtor of the Year. I'm with Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates, and like many of you, I've seen the real estate market shift and change. People often ask, Chip, what's really going on? Well, that's a great question, and I believe in answering with solid, factual data. So let's cut through some of the noise. I invite you to reach out. Let's have a conversation about your real estate goals and the current market trends in your neighborhood. You can find all my contact information at choosechip.net.
Hey, Joy. Oh, you are glowing.
Oh, hey, more like Mira joyed that Miralax helped me go. I was so backed up. Tried mega coffees, prune juice, everything. Then Miralax. And hello, gentle relief without the harsh side effects.
Ooh, how does it work?
It works naturally with the water in your body for constipation relief. Find Miralax today at your local retailer.
Use as directed for occasional constipation.
Looking for great deals on name brand clothing, furniture, and more? Visit the Garden Patch Thrift Shop on Spring Street across from the tall downtown NHC building in Murfreesboro. Our competitive prices and quality selection make it easy to find exactly what you need. And here's the best part, 100% of your purchase supports Greenhouse Ministries, helping over 70 families a day. When you shop at the Garden Patch, you're not just getting a deal, you're making a difference. The Garden Patch Thrift Shop on Spring Street in Murfreesboro.
Get in the zone, AutoZone. Annie's first oil change wasn't as hard as she thought because she went to AutoZone, where a friendly AutoZoner helped her find the right oil and save on an oil filter. He explained the job and showed her free how-tos on AutoZone.com. When she was done, AutoZone recycled her old oil for free. No hassles, just help. Everything you need, nothing you don't. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Restrictions apply.
Something amazing is happening at work. Innovative tools are helping people do better work. That's because CDW configuration specialists are multiplying productivity with Microsoft Windows 11 Pro Surface devices. Built-in security, flexibility, and simplified management streamline tasks so your team can get more done. Microsoft and CDW make amazing happen. Learn more at cdw.com/surface.
Good Neighbor Events is brought to you by America Pest Control, Old National Bank, and the law offices of John Day.
This is a paid legal ad.
When a family member is lost as a result of someone else's negligence, the grief can be unbearable. It also leaves you with a lot of questions like, how did this happen? Who's responsible? And is my family going to be okay? That's a lot to go through, but with the law offices of John Day on your side, you don't have to go through any of it alone. We understand what you're going through, and we have the experience to get the answers, justice, and compensation your family deserves. Call the law offices of John Day.
Now, WGNS Good Neighbor Events. Maybe you're new to town and want to learn more about this community. Well, this Saturday, head over to the one-room Ransom Schoolhouse. Members of the Rutherford County Historical Society will be there to share some of the area's history. It's all free, 9 until noon this Saturday at the one-room Ransom Schoolhouse, 717 North Academy Street in Murfreesboro. And it's free, including the coffee and donuts. You've heard us mention that the Rutherford County Farmers Market is celebrating their 50th anniversary this year, and it's from 7 o'clock until 1 in the afternoon every Tuesday and Friday over at the Lane Agri Park. That's on John R. Rice Boulevard, next to Paws, and just down from Sam's. And congratulations on your 50th anniversary. Don't throw away old glory. Bring your tattered American flag to WGNS and let the girls from BSA Troop 2019 at Trinity United Methodist Church retire it with dignity. Plus, we also recycle Bibles. Those are WGNS Good Neighbor events.
Rutherford weather.
A few scattered showers and thunderstorms at times this afternoon. Partial sunshine develops a high into the upper 80s. Tonight, partly cloudy skies develop a low near 67. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on News Radio WGNS.
Currently, it's 68.
Broadcasting from the Middle Tennessee Electric Studios. Take control of your account management and energy consumption with the MyMTE app. Download from the App Store and manage your account, improve your energy habits, and more. MTE, serving to make life better since 1936.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at wgnsradio.com.
Bill Krause, second segment of the WGNS Radio Roundtable. We're having, and I always look forward to visits with Joe Carr because Joe tells it as it is. Brian, you just got an email a few minutes ago from a listener. Would you mind reading it?
Sure. Yeah, it's a text from 0680, and this is for the mayor. Saying, quote, "You didn't balance the budget. You raised property taxes 6 months after you got into office. I'll be glad when I vote against you again." So,
well, I appreciate that question. I really do, because that is a sentiment, Brian and Bill. By the way, I don't know how, Bill, you got Brian to participate, but I love it. So.
Oh, I enjoy it.
You pulled me in, right?
Yes.
But that is a legitimate question. From a concerned listener, and so
the only thing was when he said he voted against you before, so he's already said a.
Oh, I don't know if he did.
He said
it said again.
And for the record, that's no relevant. That doesn't matter whether he voted. It doesn't matter whether he voted for me or not. He voted for me. He's a concerned citizen, and he's asking a legitimate question, and so we're going to do the best.
And he took the time to.
So we're going to do the best we can to answer the question. The question was, we didn't balance the budget because we raised property taxes. No, we balanced the budget because we had to raise property taxes. When I came in, the listener will understand and know that there was a $64 million deficit.
Wow.
That was a record deficit. The previous record deficit was $32 million. And we had very, very large budgeted deficits for several years prior to that. My philosophy is that you have to balance your checkbook every year.
Exactly.
We all have to do it at home. I think government has the same responsibility. You can't spend more than you bring in.
How do you repay a deficit in the county? We know the federal government, it just adds, but in the county you have a $60-some million deficit. How's it paid?
So there were two, and that's a great question. There were two ways we did that, Bill, in the first year. The first way, we immediately went to work and we cut $25 million out of the budget. So right out of the gate, we cut $25 million. That left another $39 million for us to deal with.
And you were cutting as the population of the county was growing significantly, and the service level need, not demand, service level need kept increasing.
Not just the need, Bill, but a lot of listeners don't understand, and I understand that, but we are statutorily required to fund many departments at the same level that they were funded the previous year. Example, within the schools budget, the Rutherford County schools budget is 75 to 80% of our total budget, about 75% of our total budget.
Wow.
We cannot reduce spending to the schools beyond what we did the previous year. In other words, we can maintain the funding level, but we can't reduce the funding level below what it was the previous year. So that's part of the problem. And we have similar, what we call maintenance of efforts, MOEs, that we are required in EMS, fire, law enforcement, several different areas. And so we're held captive by the previous year's budget. So when we cut $25 million out of that, the first budget that I constructed, we were left with another $39 million deficit, and we had no other choice other than to raise property taxes. And so the listener's correct. I did advocate for a property tax increase.
What percentage do you recall?
Yes,
roughly?
I do. 16.2%.
See, that's why I love having you here. You know, if we seek information, press the button and it comes out.
But and I hate it because I've never voted for a tax increase when I was in the legislature. I've never voted for a tax increase, and it was the most difficult decision I've ever had to make. But I will tell you, because we made that difficult decision then, we have consistently had balanced budgets since then. We now have another AAA bond rating, and we are now taking care of our Rutherford County employees. And so we're not going to have a tax increase this year, and we will not have. I don't think we'll have a property tax next year. And we're setting the stage where we can break this cycle of a property tax increase every 4 years, because we've gone back and looked at the research for the last 20 or 30 years. Every 4 years, Rutherford County has a property tax increase.
And
it's our goal
after election, not before
that's
election.
Exactly.
After election.
And so our goal is to not do that this coming election cycle. We're going to break that cycle. But in order to break that cycle, we got to do the work right now. And so that's what we're trying to do.
But the big question is the income generated by the existing tax rate and or other non-tax dues, fees, what have you, does that allow you to keep up with the growth? I mean, you mentioned schools. I remember having the school director here for Rutherford County, and he was talking about the huge development that is anticipated west of Laverne.
That's right.
And massive. And the amount of ability or non-ability to fund even the building of additional classrooms, schools, elementary, middle, high school, the ability to hire teachers. So the query is, and this is probably one of the most difficult tasks any leader has in any level of government, do you have the revenue just to keep up, not even fall behind?
I think if the mayor's office and the commission, are careful in how we spend our nickels and dimes and not be frivolous and impulsive and impetuous, which is a challenge.
Yep.
If we're careful with our nickels and dimes, those nickels and dimes will become dollar savings. I believe there is an opportunity for us to break the cycle of raising property taxes every 4 years. I do not know if I'm going to be successful. And the reason is because the mayor does not set the property tax rate. While I make a recommendation, and I'm the first mayor to make a recommendation, I don't ever want to have to make another recommendation again for a property tax increase. I hope the commission understands what I'm trying to do, and I hope they will participate in that goal.
And one of them, of course, this would probably be, how many years were you in the legislature?
I was 6 years in the legislature. 6 years. Just 6.
And
that was 6 was plenty.
I would probably say you're dealing with 20 people on the commission, correct? 21. And each one represents a different segment of Rutherford County, both in terms geographically and economically and rural, urban, suburban, and so forth. So how do you develop collaboration among a diversity, no matter what the group of men and women may be?
It has been, for me, without question, the most difficult part of being mayor.
It would be.
It's the hyper-partisan politics that takes place from time to time makes governing and just doing the right thing extraordinarily difficult. And I haven't found the formula or the recipe for putting politics aside and just doing what's best for the people of Rutherford County and the taxpayers of Rutherford County. It's an ongoing issue, and I haven't yet figured out how to solve that puzzle.
I don't know if it's solvable, and I'll tell you why. Even if you put the politics aside, people's concern about re-election, people's concern about the base of what they have leading to a higher office, etc. Even the vision of an elected official for who and what they serve. And if you ask a dream, what do they dream of Rutherford County to be? And does that vision change?
Well, I can't speak for the commission because I'm not a commission member. I just know that the 2.5 years I've been mayor have been, personally for me and my family, difficult because of the personal attacks that I've had to endure. But you know something? I'm 67. I'm a little
just a young man.
I'm a little weathered, and I'm tough. And if they want to beat on me for personal political gain, they can do that. Just know I will not be deterred in what I believe is best for this county and fulfilling the vision that the people have given me as a mayor. And that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. Does that mean I don't make mistakes? Absolutely not. I make mistakes every single day. But we're going to correct those mistakes, and we're not going to repeat those mistakes.
And what's interesting in terms of quote the vision and dealing with the conflict and dealing with the criticism that can get very personal and beyond, how do you wake up in the morning and you say, if I had a magic wand to make Rutherford County, and you're already doing this, and you and the commission, one of the most outstanding counties out of the 95 counties in Tennessee, how do you wake up in the morning and say, I have a dream. I have a dream about this county. I have a dream about responding. And if you're talking to people, and you do a lot of talking to both individually and group people, and you ask them, what's your dream for, quote, Rutherford County? And they may respond, take care of that traffic. I have to drive I-24 to work every day. And what are you going to do about it?
Yeah, so everybody has a different idea of what the dream looks like. And let me give you an example. For a lot of people, all the people on the northern end of the county, they had a dream, and this is one of the big reasons why I ran. They had a dream that Middle Point landfill would one day close to trash from Davidson County. That landfill brings in over 1 million tons of trash a year. Wow. Well over half of it, 700,000 tons of that, comes from outside of our county. You know, though the community of Walter Hill, Leanna, Lascassas, the northern part of Murfreesboro, they all had a dream that Walter Hill would no longer be the trash can for Davidson County. I got that dream, and I put together a plan to execute the fulfillment of that dream. That dream came to fruition Thursday at 1 o'clock with the christening and the ribbon cutting of our transfer station. And so now we have a executed plan. That transfer station will open officially on July 1 to commercial traffic. And now when Middle Point closes, sooner the better, when Middle Point closes, we now have a way to deal with the 450,000 tons of trash without taking in trash from Davidson County. And I'm very, very proud of that.
That's not a news bulletin that'll go beep, 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 but that's important to have an understanding. You know, having been in local government for as long as I was, you know, we live it, we dream it, we have nightmares about it as well as wonderful dreams about it. But on the other hand, the complexity of even dealing with removal of trash. Where's the trash going?
Well, we will subcontract with WM to load, haul, and dispose of our trash. Currently, it will go to Cedar Ridge in Marshall County, but WM reserves the right to take wherever they think is in the best interest of their business model. But we're glad to partner with them. And I just want the listeners to know, when we budgeted the $20 million to build that transfer station, 12,500 feet. It can handle 600,000 tons of trash a year, which will meet all of our needs for the foreseeable future. We did that at a cost of $17 million, Bill. So we saved the county taxpayers $3 million on that project. And the mayor's office managed that project internally. So we're really proud of the fact that we saved that project. We saved $3 million on that project.
And the fascinating thing about all this is you have choices to make on a daily basis. Choice of doing this, doing that. Choice of funding this, not funding that. And if you were speaking to a group of 100 people at a community meeting, and you said, I've got to either spend $17 million dealing with trash or $17 million on transportation improvement, reconfiguration of traffic signals, street widenings, etc., or $17 million on improving our first responder response, you sometimes have to make decisions that really will respond to a problem, even if trash is not on the hierarchy.
That is true, but fortunately with the trash situation, we're creating, this is where my private business experience comes in. We're bringing a business model to the county with trash removal through the transfer station that will not cost the county one dime. Not one dime, because what we're going to do is because we're opening up this to the commercial haulers, they actually can come to the transfer station at a reduced cost than going to Middle Point, and at the same time, them bringing that trash there pays for the operation of the transfer station. So this is a win-win. We actually save money to the private sector, and we produce revenue back to the county because of that.
And you just mentioned, and I'm certain it's a very significant part of your foundation, a philosophy of governance, the public-private partnership.
Yep.
Talk about it in other cases that come to mind.
Well, yeah. So the Forensic Center that we're putting together, that will have a groundbreaking in July. There's that private partnership. We have a number of things that we're doing. We're just completed Recovery Court, a $1.5 million expansion of Recovery Court.
Define and describe. I mean, the word certainly means something to me, but I'm going to assume that not everybody knows
You're
what
talking about Recovery Court?
Yes.
Excuse me. Yeah, so for people who are incarcerated in the Rutherford County Detention Center for nonviolent crimes, we find that the recidivism rate is much lower if we provide a path for their recovery than it is to incarcerate. As a matter of fact, we've done the ROI, return on investment, and we actually, for every dollar we spend on Recovery Court, people who are in Recovery Court, it literally saves the taxpayer $10.
And what does it do to the social fabric of the community?
The fact of the matter is we're rehabilitating lives, we're putting families back together, and we're saving money to the taxpayer. I mean, you talk about the ultimate win-win, Bill.
Yes.
Recovery Court actually does that, and we have Recovery Court graduation almost every month, and I make it my mission to go to almost every single one if at all possible. And so I'm an active participant, if just my observation in what they're doing. Judge Turner, Judge Tidwell, Judge Eyeshot, and Judge McFarland do an outstanding job in administering those courts.
Isn't that interesting that, if you were speaking to one of my American government classes, and I would ask you to say, what do you get out of being in public service? Why should a young man or a young woman, or any age for that matter, go into public service? What is it? Is it fame? Is it power? Is it hope? Is it dream? Is it networking? What motivates or should motivate a man or woman to go into public service?
I think if you have the ability to identify a problem, let me back up. If you as a person know what you believe, you know why you believe it, and you can articulate that, and then you couple that with the ability to analyze and diagnose problems effectively, you are a public servant.
Exactly.
Whether you're elected or not, you're a public servant.
You're serving the
people. You know what you believe, you know why you believe it, and you can articulate that. And so you have that as a backdrop, and then you have the ability to analyze and diagnose problems. What you've set up is a solution that will present itself not just to you, but all those you've collaborate with. And that's what I enjoy doing. So that's why off air we were talking about gotcha questions. And the reason gotcha questions don't bother me, Bill, is because I know what I believe, I know why I believe it, and I can articulate it. So there's no gotcha there for those people. And then I also have the ability, because of the engineering background I have, to understand and look at a problem. And if I stand there and analyze the problem, and I do it sufficiently, the solution will always present itself. Always.
Exactly.
And politicians typically like to rush to a solution before they've understood the problem, which is inevitably makes things worse.
Two things related to that. Tragically, but it's part of our democratic system, a lot of people will run for office because they're running on a grudge. They're running against something rather than for something. They're running, and I saw the case once in a city council meeting where there was a tragedy in the community. A car went through a stop signal and killed a child. And the council chambers were filled with angry people. And there was a young man who stood representing the people, and he spoke with great passion and great commitment. And the 300 people, when he was over, applauded and cheered and roared him on, and he was insisting that the city do this and do that. After the meeting was over, they were all on the parking lot. They said, "You ought to run for city council. You are so articulate. You have a cause and a purpose." He ran, and he was elected, all because of the fact that he was responding initially to a problem, not coming up with a solution. And you have an agenda, an agenda based on faith, an agenda based on analyzing through the engineering background, cause and effects, and so forth.
I think for those who want to pursue public service as an elected official, if there's one thing I could deposit in them is listen, don't talk.
And carry that through. Make sure the information you listen to is correct.
Just listen. And I will tell you, empathy goes a long way, Bill, into public service.
You know, I always
you cannot be empathetic if you're talking.
I always ask the student, yes, what's the difference between listening and hearing? And you're walking down the street and somebody comes toward you. "So how are you, Joe?" And you say, "I'm dying of cancer." "Hey, that's great. Have a wonderful day." They heard you, but they didn't listen to you. And I think that is so key. We'll be right back for concluding comments after these special words.
Huge news. Right now at Wendy's, you can get a Son of Baconator for just $3. I don't think you understand this situation. The Son of Baconator is only $3 for a limited time. You know, smoked bacon, rich melted cheese. That Son of Baconator is only $3. Thank you to whoever wished upon that star. For bacon that just won't quit, gotta be Wendy's.
U.S. price and participation may vary. Prices may be higher in Alaska and Hawaii, not valid on a combo or on third-party delivery platforms.
As a fan, you know all the important sports cliches. And when you save money by bundling your home and auto with Progressive, you can get out there and give it 110%, even though that's mathematically impossible. And remember, failure is not an option. Well, it's always an option, just not a good one. But you're not worried because you've got ice in your veins. You're on fire. How can both of those things be true at the same time? Well, that's between you and your doctor. So get out there and leave it all on the field. Leave what? Who cares? Just leave it and save with a bundle from Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
First Shot, growing in Christ with life and athletic skills.
So we teach God's Word at everything we do to implant it in them so that they understand that the only way to get through the world is with God on their side.
First Shot founder and executive director Andy Herzer.
Our focus is on our inner city here at Patterson Park.
From academics to athletics, First Shot's focus is toward building a stronger, more courageous spirit to face opportunities and obstacles that our youth confront every day. To find out more about First Shot, go to firstshottn.org.
This is Kim Dunaway from Sunshine Nutrition Center. You hear me on Monday mornings at 7:20 talking about how to lead a healthier lifestyle. We carry supplements, personal care, and grocery items at both our Murfreesboro and Smyrna locations, family owned and operated since 1989.
Premier 6 Theater on Broad in Jackson Heights.
Let's all go to the movies.
Check out what's showing at murfreesboromovies.com. Popcorn popped fresh daily.
Movies at the good old premises.
Premier 6 on Broad in Jackson Heights.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at wgnsradio.com.
This is Bill Krause, third segment, and I hope you're all enjoying, including the information that we are receiving, including news bulletins, news alerts, news awareness, and so forth, from the mayor of Rutherford County, the Honorable Joe Carr. Another question came in for clarification on the transfer station, and I personally realize extraordinarily complex subject, but the answers are very, very meaningful. The question of does WM, Waste Management, have the ability to keep dumping trash at one of the two facilities in Rutherford County?
Well, the answer, the two facilities I think you're referring to, Bill, is the old Rutherford County landfill, which is where the transfer station is at Landfill Road. That landfill is closed and has been closed, so it's no longer operational. What adjoins that old landfill immediately to the north is the Middle Point landfill, which is an 800-acre landfill, which I think probably the caller was referring to. And the reason WM wouldn't take the transfer the trash at the transfer station to Republic is because it's not financially feasible not to do so. The gate rate at Middle Point, I think, is like $110, maybe $115 a ton.
Mm-hmm.
If our transfer station is charging $85 a ton to a commercial hauler, you can see that they immediately save $30 a ton, but the cost for us to take it to Waste Management, take it to Cedar Ridge, is much less than it is to take it to Republic. So Republic is much more expensive at Middle Point than Waste Management is at Cedar Ridge. So it's a dollars and cents issue.
Totally.
Purely and simply.
Totally. Do we know, and maybe I'm not informed on this to such a degree, do we know if Davidson County itself has or is looking at dump facilities north or west of Davidson County?
We do know. We know that they're not doing anything.
Wow. You almost think, and I hate to see one power of a level of government over another power, but you almost think it becomes a state legislature responsibility to say, where's trash going to be placed statewide? Master plan, for example.
We have a great delegation, but I don't, at this late in the game, it's too late for the legislature to get involved in solving a problem that Rutherford County has already solved for itself. If they want to get involved and solve it for another county somewhere else in the state, I do not care. But we have mapped this out, and we have a solution for Rutherford County that's going to help the private haulers in Rutherford County. It's going to help the taxpayers of Rutherford County, and it's going to usher in the closure of Middle Point landfill, so we no longer have to take Davidson County's trash. We have a solution. We're on track to doing it. And I will just say this: the big thing about the transfer station is it now gives Rutherford County complete control of the waste generated in the county, and it will give us control of the waste that
comes into the county.
So now we can say no after Middle Point closes. What that then does is that then allows us to leverage that for more recycling, more composting, and embracing those technologies that are more environmentally friendly, so we don't have to bury everything. And so the goal is control, and control will allow us to recycle, compost, and embrace technologies that are more environmentally friendly. That's the goal.
There's technology, or is there research technology of creating energy out of trash?
There is, and the problem with it is its price point. But as just like everything else, as the technology advances, the price point comes down and it becomes much more attractive for counties like Rutherford to embrace. And so we want to be prepared for that when it inevitably comes. But before we can do that, we got to get control of the solid waste stream that is generated in our county and that comes into our county from Davidson County. That's the goal. Control is the goal, Bill.
Dealing with a former DJ, I think it's still in his heart. We've had a lot of trash talk here. Please excuse the trash talk.
Some people call them Joe-isms.
I have the Krause-isms in class. I know the feeling. Your optimism about the future. Let's take the remaining few moments. Your optimism about the future of Rutherford County.
In the infamous words of Ten Buck 3, Bill.
Oh, gotcha.
The future's so bright, I have to wear shades.
All right. That is beautiful. Both the sun is out and the daughter's out.
It is. And so the future is extraordinarily bright for this county. The direction we're heading in is good. The finances are really good and very stable. We're solving the biggest problems. We're meeting all these challenges head on. And we, like I said, that doesn't mean we're not making mistakes. We are. But I will promise you this: we will not repeat our mistakes. There are plenty of new mistakes to be made without having to spend any time repeating them. So we're moving forward. I like the direction we're heading in. This balanced budget that passed out of budget committee last night is a testament to that, and the working relationship, in spite of our differences that the mayor and the commission can have, we can work together and we can solve problems. And really, that's all the citizens want. They want us to make sure we're solving the problems that are uppermost in their mind.
You've been referring to throughout our visit this morning growth, and one of the basic foundations of local government. And actually, state and federal government is growth is good, growth is great, growth creates new opportunity. How do we make sure, though, our growth is quality?
Well, that That's a wonderful question. The commission and the mayor's office have been working on a document for several years called Plan Rutherford, which is that plan that we're outlining. It's almost complete. That will define what we're going to be in 20, 30, and 50 years. The word says, and I love this scripture, the psalmist says, a people without vision will perish. It is so true. And so for me as the county mayor and the leader, I have to make sure that not only do I understand that I know what that vision is, but I can articulate that vision. But a vision without a plan is just a vision. A plan without a vision is no plan. So we got to have a vision, and then we have to have a plan. And so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to put a vision and a plan together and then execute that. The vision for a transfer station wasn't mine. That was Mac Nolan and Steve Piercy's long before I came here. But when I became mayor, we put a plan together for that vision. You know, there was a vision for an expanded recovery court. There was a vision for a forensic center before I got here. Carl Hudgens and Denise Martin, they had a vision for a forensic center. I showed up, I'm going, that is a proper vision for this county. Here's the plan. And so we're now breaking ground. You know, there was a vision for balanced budgets, taking care of our employees, you know, AAA bond ratings before I got here. But now we have a plan. And so the plan and the vision are literally linked together for their mutual success.
And the third part of that triangle is, and this is where you and the county deserve a huge amount of credit, the successful implementation of that plan. You know, you can have a plan. There are city halls, county governments filled with studies and reports over the years. If you just have them gather dust on the shelf, they're a plan. They were paid for. A lot of thought, a lot of creativity, but they've never been implemented. And how you, I mean, just when you refer to this whole trash effort, you're implementing a plan.
And so that part there, so it's the vision, the plan and the implementation.
And then the evaluation.
It's a three-legged stool.
Yeah.
And if you know what a milker stool is, don't you, Bill?
Yes, I do.
A milker stool is a three-legged stool. Do you know why a milker stool is a three-legged stool?
So you don't get hit by the cow's milk?
No, it's geometry. This is it's a perfect. The three is the perfect. I love talking about this, Bill. It's a perfect number.
Yeah.
So a three-legged stool is a milker stool, not a four-legged stool, a three-legged stool. Because if each one of the legs is of a different length, even though it may not be level, it is still stable.
Wow.
Think about it. So what we strive to do is that those 3 points, a triangle is the strongest geometric figure. It's a very strong, very stable. So you're right, the implementation is the third leg. I'm not good at that. That's managerial, that's administrative.
Staff, right?
Exactly. So I have a phenomenal staff that takes the vision, my plan, and then they work on that implementation. And so I have a phenomenal staff of 24 directors who report to me, and they are phenomenally good at implementing the plan and bringing it to fruition, like the transfer station, like the recovery court, like the forensic center, like a AAA bond rating, like balanced budgets, on, and taking care of our employees, on and on and on and on. It's truly a collaborative team effort of the entire county.
You've so clearly crystallized the identification, from my vantage point, of being a city manager for so many years. The staff made recommendations to the elected official, recommendations based on study, research, data, statistics. The legislative or the elected officials made the decision based upon the proposal. Then it was staff's responsibility to implement to the best of their ability what was proposed and what was accepted by the legislative body. Tragically, I've seen over the years where the staff may disagree with the legislative decision and will not implement to the same success level as ought to be. Can you terminate somebody if they haven't given you 100%? Very difficult if they've given you 80% on the implementation. I also have to ask, how's your eyesight?
I wear reading glasses, Bill.
Well, I have to say that you have 20/20 vision, in order to be able to implement a vision.
Yeah.
If you have a vision, you've got to have 20/20 eyesight, or at least good bifocals to make the 20/20.
Well, we have the things we've talked about this past hour have given testimony that we live in the best county in the state and one of the absolute best, if not best, in the nation, and that is borne out by the fact that people are wanting to move here from all over, and it's because of the vision, and it's because of the plan, and it's because of the implementation. People see it, and they want to be a part of it, and I think it's great that they want to come here.
Mayor Joe Carr, the spirit of Rutherford County, thank you for being with us. Thank you. I didn't quite have you do as much of the Joe Carr DJ, Joe Carr radio host.
Well, Will, thank you, Brian, for having us today. Bill, Brian, thank you very much, and we'll be right back.
Would I? Well, I've got to say this publicly. Could I schedule, and this you have to give some thought process to, could I schedule Wild Willie, if you want to call it, WGNS Radio Roundtable, where it's a Joe Carr show as Joe Carr used to be? Would you be able to put together a show of Joe Carr?
We will have to give that some thought, Bill. Those days are kind of in the rearview mirror. I'll tell you what. I'm gonna cede control of that to Brian. Brian's walked back in, so Brian's gonna get control now of this. We're out of control, Brian.
We've got things that would have to be signed. You know.
Gotcha.
I love that answer.
Gotcha.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Joe. We enjoyed having you as always. We do hope to have you back either as mayor of Rutherford County or as Joe Carr, the wild DJ.
Well, we'll stick with Joe Carr, the mayor, for right now. But thank you, Bill. Thank you, Brian. It's always a pleasure of being here.
See y'all next week, my friends.
Be blessed.